Hey guys, it's Hugo, and today we're going to talk about Russia, Liberia, Peru, Jerusalem and Apple. Our first headline of the week is about Russia and its upcoming presidential election happening next year, 2018. Vladimir Putin has announced 3 weeks ago that he was going to run for president again in the election. Who will he be up against? Well, it actually seems that it won't be Alexei Navalny, an ex-blogger and opponent of Putin who has become well known for his criticisms of corruption in Russia. The Russian Electoral Commission has forbidden Navalny to run in this election because of his previous criminal convictions. Navalny has always said these convictions were invented and absurd. Just after the Russian Electoral Commission's decision, Navalny posted a video where he called for, I quote, a voter strike. He's asking Russians to boycott the 2018 presidential election because he thinks that, I quote again, it's not a real election. It is true that there will be only 2 other candidates running against Putin, and Navalny thinks that Putin even chose his opponents himself. The second headline of the week is about the election in Liberia. The second round of election happened this week and the results were announced on Thursday. One of the most interesting bits of this election is that it was a runoff between George Weah, an African football legend, and Joseph Boakai, the current vice president of the country. George Weah comes from the lower class neighborhood in the capital, Monrovia, and is the only African footballer to have won the Ballon d'Or. Mr. George, the nickname given to him by Liberians, is evidence of the sense of hope that there is among young people. He was the favorite during the election, although he has been criticized for his lack of experience and his vague manifesto. This election is really important for Liberia because the country hasn't had a democratic government for over 3 generations. Also, Liberia is a country in crisis, devastated by a civil war between 1989 and 2003, which caused more than 250,000 deaths, and then again by an Ebola epidemic in 2014. On Thursday, footballer George Weah won the election, making him the new president of Liberia. The third headline of the week is about Peru and Alberto Fujimori. First of all, who is Alberto Fujimori? He's the ex-president of Peru, convicted for corruption and crimes against humanity. He has been in prison since 2007 after being found guilty of overseeing 2 massacres in 1991 and 1992 while he was in power. A little history lesson to understand what happened. In the 90s, a movement called Sendero Luminoso, Shining Path in English, was formed in Peru. Originally, it was a communist movement, then Maoist, meaning it was linked to the ideology of the ex-Chinese leader Mao. This group led what we call guerrilla operations, so a war led by many smaller groups and most often by acts of sabotage. Fujimori, the Peruvian president at the time, ordered the massacre of certain members of these groups between 1991 and 1992. 25 people were killed. So why are we talking about him again now? Well, because of the deteriorating health condition of Fujimori, currently in prison, the current president of Peru, Pedro Pablo Kuczynski, has granted him what we call a humanitarian pardon. This means that his prison term could be reduced or even stopped entirely. More than 5,000 Peruvians have protested against this decision. For them, this pardon is a humiliation for the victims of Fujimori crimes. As for Fujimori, he asked to be pardoned for the acts committed by his government. Fourth important moment of the week was in Guatemala. Guatemala has announced that they will follow the US example and move the Guatemalan embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And it's hardly surprising. Jimmy Morales, the country's president, has been nicknamed by the media as Guatemala's own Trump. He maintains good relationships with both Israel and also with the United States, who, by the way, donated $300 million in aid to Guatemala in 2016. Jimmy Morales even proposed to Donald Trump, I quote, to provide cheap labor to help the construction of the wall Trump is planning on building on the Mexican and US border. One of the possible consequences of this decision could be the other countries will follow Guatemala's example. 8 other countries voted against the UN resolution that we talked about last week that condemned the American decision. We will have to wait and see if some of these countries go on and do the same. It's also important to understand that Guatemala is the primary global exporter of a plant called cardamom, a plant mainly sold in the Middle East. However, we do know that other Middle Eastern countries are strongly opposed to the Americans moving their embassy to Jerusalem. So Guatemala's decision could have a strong impact on their own economy. Our last headline of the week is about the company Apple. Apple has admitted that it uses a very controversial software in its devices. The software updates on Apple products, for example iPhone or iPads, actually slow down the older models. What does this mean? Basically, if I have an iPhone 5 and I update it to the latest software, my phone will slow down and stop working as well, which Apple programmed it to do. Why did Apple decide to do that? Officially, they say it's to lengthen the battery life, but loads of associations are claiming that it's programmed obsolescence. Programmed obsolescence is when a producer shortens on purpose how long their product will last for, just so that consumers are forced to buy new versions of the product. One association is pressing charges against Apple for this programmed obsolescence. The association is called HOP and is French. Indeed, in France, although this is not the case in all countries, programmed obsolescence is an offense and is punished by law. Other businesses have been charged for the same offense, such as Epson, the printer maker. We'll keep you updated on how the lawsuits against Apple progress. This week's debate is, do you think Russia is a democracy? As always, you can vote with the small pop-up that is in the top right corner. You can vote yes, no or no opinion. Obviously, it's quite a complicated question, so you can also continue the debate in the comment section below. I'll try and read them all. I think I've said pretty much everything. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Give me a blue thumbs up if you like what I'm doing. I wish you all a happy new year, and as we say, speak again soon.